This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the morning of Monday, July 29th, 2024. I'm Alex Brown. Governor Eric Holcomb and a delegation of economic development officials from Indiana are set to return home from a trip to Australia and Singapore tomorrow. Holcomb said Indiana is an ideal place for countries like Australia to expand their footprint, especially when it comes to hard tech and renewable energy.
For a place like a market that big, where they can partner their talent with talent at Purdue and Indiana University and Notre Dame and Rose-Hulman and Ivy Tech, they really have a great shot at growing if they have the right partners. And so this really is a perfect match. And we can't afford as a state to downshift. And so you have to get out there, whether it's around the state or around the country or around the world, if you want to form these partnerships and really carpe diem. Not squander this moment.
Holcomb said his pitch for Indiana is that the state is an oasis and a land of opportunity for businesses to grow. The University of Notre Dame broke ground last week on a new women's residence hall on the south side of campus. The project, set for completion in the fall of 2026, is being funded with a significant leadership gift from the family of Notre Dame alum Thomas Grosjean in honor of his late wife. Therese Mary Grosjean Hall will replace Pangborn Hall, which was decommissioned at the end of the last academic year. The amount of the gift supporting the project was not disclosed. Indiana Landmarks has announced Stephanie Richard as the new director of its Southwest Field Office in Evansville. In her new role, Richard will oversee the organization's historic preservation work in the Southwest region, which covers Gibson, Posey, Pike, Spencer, Vanderburgh, and Warwick counties. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation invite you to the Engage Indiana series, presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. With an unrelenting focus on growing Indiana's economy, we'll dive into each region's unique challenges and distinct opportunities for growth. 9 regions, 1 goal. Indiana's bold future starts here. Discover more and register at ibj.com/engage.
To Isabel Guzman, the leader of the U.S. Small Business Administration under President Joe Biden, the Emerging Manufacturing Collaboration Center in 16 Tech is the perfect example of small businesses harnessing technology. Guzman toured the EMC2 space Friday as one stop in her trip to Indianapolis as part of the SBA's Made in America tour, and she said the space is what her administration envisions for small business innovation.
Indiana has done an incredible job, of course, receiving these really key historic Invest in America grants around manufacturing, around hydrogen, and as well around just tech innovation overall. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting to be here at 16 Tech to see how our small businesses are playing in this space and how they are a key part of it. They are the innovators. Mm-hmm. We're meeting with small tech firms that are creating the pharmaceuticals of the future to the ag tech of the future, and it's all happening here right in Indiana.
Beyond small manufacturing incubators like 16 Tech, Guzman said she's excited about larger corporations making major investments in Indiana in recent years due to the knock-on effects those major investments have. A potential sports complex and family entertainment center could be coming to Warwick County. Our partners at WEHT-TV report applications have been submitted to the Warwick County Board of Zoning Appeals for the projects, which would be built on 72 acres of farmland. The large sports complex, being proposed by the Warwick County Redevelopment Commission, would feature full-size basketball courts that could be converted into volleyball courts, while some hard surface courts could also transition to turf fields. A second application includes plans for a golf and family entertainment center that would be used for short game and long game. A timeline for when construction could begin was not given. The Indy Chamber has lobbied unsuccessfully since 2018 to raise the state's cigarette tax, and it is ready to give it another go in the 2025 legislative session. IIB's Sarah Simcox has more.
Employee healthcare advocates argued during a panel discussion last week that a tax hike would help reduce smoking in the state, generate additional revenue that could be used to help pay down the state's $1 billion Medicaid shortfall, and reduce healthcare complications that would in turn cut the state's Medicaid costs. But State Representative Brad Barrett, who would hold significant sway over any potential legislation as chair of the House Public Health Committee, said one hurdle a cigarette tax hike would need to overcome is idea fatigue. He noted noted that the state continues to suffer from a nearly $1 billion Medicaid miscalculation that could lead to budget cuts, and last year resulted in the stalling of about 20% of the bills sent to his committee. Indiana's current cigarette tax is 99.5 cents per pack, which is the 39th lowest tax rate among the states, and hasn't been increased since 2007. Tax hike proposals in recent years would have increased Indiana's tax to $2 a pack. A Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation report said a $2 tax would bring several benefits, including a state revenue increase. The chamber said reducing tobacco use will contribute to an overall healthier workforce by decreasing chronic health issues. Taylor Hughes, Indy Chamber's chief strategy officer and chief of staff, told IBJ over email that increasing the tax to $2 a pack could result in $365 million in annual revenue, which could help mitigate the Medicaid shortfall. Long-term healthcare savings could amount to $795 million a year, he said, since smokers typically have higher Medicaid bills. About 16.2% of Hoosier adults said they were smokers in 2022, according to the Indiana Department of Health. That rate is higher than the national average of 14%. Sarah Simcox, Inside Indiana Business, Radio.
Dean and Barbara White Family Foundation Executive Director Bill Hanna is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.